Hello everyone. Now that I've had the time to properly process the Rytec AMR, I want to go and do a recording on it. I will be comparing it to the Dragunov because if you don't put the explosive rounds in, the Rytec AMR and Dragunov are a fair comparison. Okay, so I'm mixed on the Rytec AMR. If you don't put the explosive rounds in, then it becomes a marksman rifle with a stupid amount of range. It does have a lot of recoil though, so there's also that. Um, but to further compound this problem, Ace explained this in his video, but apparently the Rytec AMR is zeroed at 100 meters on its base. But when you put the 7 straight in, then it changes where you have to aim. Yeah, so you can see that this is kind of awkward. So, I the reason I'm mixed on this is because while the Rytec AMR seems good on numbers, the issue is that I know a lot of people aren't going to take the time to look at my Google document or, for that matter, listen to the community. That's been a constant problem. No matter how many times I've gotten up on my recordings, posted things, uh, it just always ends the same. It always ends with people following the pros like a bunch of sheep. So I know that's just going to be the end result each time that I try to do something for the community. I know I shouldn't have that mindset, but unfortunately, it's just the way it is. There's nothing I can really do to truly change the bulk of the COD community. While I may be able to change one or two people, I need to be able to target as many as I can. Like, we're talking hundreds of people, because the more people I can target, the more I can get through their skulls that there are certain ways to do things. But I digress. Anyways, so yeah, knowing that, it's why I'm mixed on the Rytec AMR. It's because while I know its numbers are decent, the problem is, can I rely on people to actually listen? And the answer is usually no. So they're not going to take the time to know this right here or this right here or really any of it. Now let's go and talk about the explosive rounds. Okay, so the explosive rounds is just another problem. While the explosive rounds do a good amount of damage to the ATV and drones, the issue is that it brings with it all these negatives: minus bullet velocity, ammo reserve, recoil control, and fire rate. And you can even see that from the prior slide that I was showing earlier. Look how much further you have to aim up just to hit the person. Now keep in mind, this is a person sitting still for the purpose of tests. If it's a moving target, you're going to have to aim up and in a direction ahead of your target. So that's not good. Another thing too is it changes the RPM. It's 114 RPM when the explosive rounds are on. That means you go from 200 RPM to 114. And the only thing that you accomplish for all this negatives is taking this rifle and making it 2 shots to kill to the torso. Because remember, the total amount of HP you can have in Warzone is 250. So while this does make it a 2 shot to the torso, the problem is you're looking at all these negatives I was just showing you. Oh, and yeah, the ADS is just horrendous with this on, by the way. It's plus 6 frames. That's just horrible. So yeah. For that reason, I went ahead and created this particular Google document catered towards just keeping the Rytec AMR at its base ammunition. No explosive ammo, no incendiary, nothing. Just keeping it at its base. With its base, it has more range than the Dragunov. As you can see here with the FTAC 7 straight, it pushes out to closer to 100 meters. Compare that to the Dragunov with its 660mm barrel. It pushes it just past 75 meters, about 78 meters from what I'm able to tell. So this is going to be a lot more range than the Dragunov, as well as better bullet velocity. However, it is going to take more shots to kill in Warzone due to the fact that you have to shoot a person with 250 HP. For that reason, that means if you are in the effective range, this entire red bar here, the upper torso shots will require 3, whereas the Dragunov will require 2. Dragunov is 2 to the upper torso or 2 to the head. This Rytec AMR, when it's not using explosive ammo, is 3 to the chest, or I'm sorry, 3 to upper torso and 2 to the head. Because it has a much higher multiplier on heads, as you can see there, 214, whereas the Dragunov is 140. So yeah, the only way that the Rytec will be able to down somebody in less bullets is if you're shooting the head, but good luck on that. As far as maintaining accuracy and stuff, let's go ahead and just quickly cover the tank break. So the tank break does have a pretty significant effect on the Rytec, but as far as I saw with Exclusive Ace's video, he didn't compare it to the compensator. Remember, the compensator is the strongest recoil control attachment for vertical recoil. Muzzle brake is the one for horizontal. So it's hard for me to determine if the tank brake is even good due to the fact that Ace didn't compare it to the compensator. I've certainly done some tests myself, but I always like to double check my work with somebody else's work. While I may think I have the right answer, I don't want to say it until I can for sure confirm it. But yeah, that's why I kind of wait for Ace, because while I do a lot of tests and stuff, I'm always double checking myself. It's just me being very cautious and ensuring that I'm giving you all the proper information. So yeah, but yeah, so short version of what I'm trying to get at here is I do think the Rytec AMR has potential in Warzone, but it's entirely dependent on the person knowing this stuff right here. Whereas the Dragunov is a bit more straightforward. The Dragunov, yeah, it does have some bullet drop. As you can see with its longest barrel, you do have to aim kind of above the head with this thing. And also its scope is a bit more difficult to read for somebody that's new to it. Because the Dragunov uses these chevrons. Now, to a person who's new to this, will be like WTF, but somebody who's used to the Dragunov like me, I think it's actually the best scope in the game, because I can use these chevrons to figure out exactly how far up or how far down I need to aim myself. It's not like the Rytec AMR scope, where it's got these lines and numbers. And actually, I do think that the lines and numbers kind of do make it a little bit more difficult for me to figure out where I'm aimed. Whereas the Dragunov is pretty clean. You can see besides the chevrons, it only has that top line going on. So I'm able to see pretty far to my left and right. And actually, that's what I'll do if I'm hard scoped. If I'm hard scoped with the Dragunov, I'll just point it upwards until I can barely see the ground. So that way my left and right sides are free of the line, and from there I can kind of figure things out. But the Rytec is one of those plus scopes, so I can't really do that as nearly as well because I have all these numbers and stuff in my way. The other thing too is, of course, the unlock. The Dragunov is a base rifle in the game. Anyone can pick up a Dragunov and make a loadout out of it. The Rytec AMR, from what I understand, has some challenges to it, so it will take a while to unlock that. I think another thing that's worth mentioning is just in the fact that it's really hard to determine the numbers with these two. Because if you look at the Rytec's damage to the upper torso, it's the same as the HDR and AX50. But at a much higher RPM. It's at 200 RPM base. The Dragunov is 174. So if we look at the Dragunov's damage numbers, it's 136 the upper torso and only 26 less RPM. It's really hard for me to determine which one will kill faster because of the difference in RPM and damage. A lot of times, the guns with slower RPM and higher damage per bullet are usually the ones with the faster time to kill, but there has been exceptions. And then let's just say, even if you figured out those numbers, let's just say that you're able to determine it. Well, I have to look at it again, but I'm fairly positive that the Dragunov has a better ADS time than the Rytec AMR once you max the stuff out. Also, the Dragunov does have a bigger magazine base, so there's also that to consider. Conclusion, I would say it really is personal preference at the end of the day, like any gun, but I do think that the Dragunov is still an extremely viable long-range semi-auto. The Rytec AMR is perfectly fine too, assuming you don't use explosive ammo, just to make sure it keeps up that RPM and also to ensure that it's not doing crazy bullet drops like this. But that's really all I can say about the two. Thanks for listening.